Well, hello there, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. Why is my chroma key off now? I checked it 100 times. Let me fix this again. Anyways, welcome to the very first episode
Your booty is mine.
Thank you for the host, Ducky. Your booty is mine. The very first episode of PieRat TV. So, going to kind of explain what this is going to be about. Because
your booty is mine.
Thank you for the host there, Allie. Your booty is mine. So a couple weeks ago, I was talking with my brother and talking with some other people about what's missing and some of the things that are going on with my stream. I've been focusing a lot on gaming. I've been focusing a lot on doing that stuff. But there's been a passion of mine that I've kind of left off to the side and deal with kind of, for me, in the shadows. So I was going to school to become a history teacher. Some people know this, some people don't. Because I love history. I've loved history since I was a little child. I used to read all sorts of history books growing up. I used to read the encyclopedia while I was on the toilet from the time that I could read words. So, I mean, I've always had this love of knowledge. And history, for some reason, has always... Yeah, I know. I'm a huge nerd. History has always been, like, the one place that I've really enjoyed. I think a lot of it had to do with me reading a lot of the old mythological stories like the Odyssey and the Iliad, reading those things, and then moving on from those to things like Moby Dick and some of the other great novels that came out back way before my time. And I always found myself wanting to read things that were very kind of like historically intertwined. It's why while I was in college, I read War and Peace over the summer when I wasn't working. Because I really started to look into the whole Russian history and try to figure out what was going on in Russia, because it's something I never knew about. It's something I never delved into. Being a person that grew up in the Cold War, you know, Russia was always the bad guy when I was growing up. So when I first started really, really getting into history, I was reading things by Tom Clancy. If you know Tom Clancy, he's a political espionage style thriller novelist, or he was. And I really got into him in high school, and it really kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things when it comes to international diplomacy and international relationships. So it got me even more wanting to really, figure out how the countries that we see today, where they came from, kind of thing. So when I was in college, I was going to become a history teacher. I wanted to learn as much as I could about history and then pass it on to other individuals. During this time, I kind of got really, really, really active in politics. And I started looking really hardcore into politics. And before that, I was kind of active in it. I voted in elections. I kind of looked into things. But I was never really outspoken about politics. Yeah, Kenny, you came in when I was active in politics. So what happened with my history teaching degree was I found out that I didn't want to be a teacher. At least not on a public school sense. I I got into student teaching, and I saw a lot of the problems with our current public school system and the bureaucracy they have to go through. But it wasn't just that. It was a feeling of that when I was in school, especially when I was in college, that my understanding of what my political beliefs were not perfectly in line with the majority of the people in the education system. And I had a wonderful political science teacher when I was at Northern Arizona. That him and I had a lot of discussions. We found that we don't agree with a lot of each other's political standings and a lot of each other's political beliefs, but we were always happy to have dialogue with each other and talk with each other and talk about what was going on in our country at that time. And I wrote, for my final paper for the semester, I wrote a paper on the United States being on a very weird point of coming close to another civil war. And I know it's being said a lot on the news and it's being said a lot everywhere else, but this, mind you, this is like 10 years ago that I wrote this paper, and it kind of delved into a lot of the current issues at that time, and how we were seeing a huge divide among people. But at that time, I was happy that I had somebody that was on the other side of my political stance that I can converse with and talk with, and not have shouting arguments, and not have shouting match after shouting match after shouting match, and not worry about being name called. And I still, like, I've emailed this professor recently, and I told him a lot of the things that I was thinking about for this. So I came to the conclusion that I wanted to do something that was different on Mixer. I wanted to do something that I don't see many other people doing. Around everywhere, I don't see a lot of people doing. You do have certain people on YouTube that do it, and they produce videos and post them up, but there's not really that live streaming, live interaction kind of thing. And I know that I've been I've been worried about where this will all go and how this will all go, and whether or not people will accept it for what it is, which is what I want it to be, is just an open discourse between people and of all different ideologies. And I want it to be a place where people can go and talk these kind of things that aren't allowed on many other streams. And I've been guilty of this before too. I've been on the No Politics in My Channel bandwagon, and a lot of that was because I've seen a lot of friendships, and I've seen a lot of even family ties be broken up over politics, and that's not what I ever wanted. But I will say that I can't hide my feelings anymore. I feel like it's an injustice to myself to not want to express something that I've been deeply passionate about for so many years, which is history and politics and this country and just the world in general. And I know I've had some conversations with some of you out there that we've kind of butt heads on before in private, but never in a public forum. And so that's what I wanted to do, and that's why I decided to unveil this. Well, yeah, they do, Mina. They really, really do. History and politics are intertwined more than I think anything else. Seriously, like, oh, I'm thirsty now. So I proposed this to my I proposed this to a couple of my moderators. I proposed this to a couple of people that I'm closer with on Mixer, and I've decided that this is what I want to do. I will download this VOD, and I'm going to put them all the VODs for this specific web show from here on out onto YouTube for later access. Because I don't want to be. I want to have somewhere where I can say, look, this is what I actually said, just in case somebody takes me out of context or somebody takes somebody else out of context. And that's one of the reasons why I put chat onto the screen as well. So that way, there's a record of what actually happened compared to if somebody just happens to hop in and says, oh my God, this guy's talking about this. Wow. Or that person said this in the chat. Wow. And not have that basis to be like, this is what the context of that conversation was all about. So, and like I said, I've done a lot of studying into history. I devoted about 6 years of my life to just straight historical studies, and most of them were American, and I threw a little bit of Mexican history in there. I had a course in in Napoleonic Russian history, overall general world history too. So like I'm not saying I'm an expert on anything. Believe me, I don't have a PhD next to my name. But I do have a basis in history, and I've done a lot of personal studying on it as well. And the same goes with a lot of politics. I see a huge opportunity here on Mixer to have this kind of conversation, to have this kind of forum. And I thank all of you for joining me here tonight as we take this bad girl on a test ride here. So Friday nights from now until the foreseeable future will be PieRat TV, which if y'all are, I found kind of funny because you had your old pirate radio stations and stuff, and there is it does work. There is a whole spiel there for my moderators. I don't want any personal attacks. I don't want people to call each other idiots. I don't want people to, accuse people of thinking something for reasons that they don't actually think. I do want people to have discussions, and I want to have discussions with y'all. And so that's why I created this. But I kind of wanted to start this episode, and I don't know how long I'll go. I'll probably only do about two hours, maybe 3 hours of a stream on Friday nights, because I think that'll give us the opportunity to have, whatever discussions we can have, and also give me the chance to, put as much of me into something without exhausting myself, kind of thing. So as I sit here stumbling over my words, I wanted the first episode to kind of rotate around a piece of document that I've always found very personal to myself. And it was one of the I am nervous, Mina. I am, because it's a very touchy subject for a lot of people. And it's a very touchy subject. A lot of us hold politics and our political ideals to our, really close to our hearts. So I don't want anybody to have their feelings hurt, kind of thing. And I'm not worried about my feelings getting hurt. I don't have any feelings. My ex-wife used to tell me that my feelings were just a ho-ho. So, which is funny on a lot of different levels. Probably that, Ducky. That's probably what it was. So, but so this document that I've always like really been intrigued by, and I've always held very close to myself, is the United States Constitution. And I know if y'all aren't American, if you're not American here, you probably haven't even like really gone over the Constitution. If you are American, the last time you looked at the Constitution was probably like in seventh grade. No, I'm not. Would never say that because Steven, welcome. You jumped into the very first episode of PieRat TV, which we talk about history and politics. Because a lot of the things I want to talk about are stuff that are very they relate to international stuff, especially like what's going on in the UK and EU right now. I do want to talk about those kind of things, so I don't want to exclude anybody that's not American. But anyways, back to what I was saying. The Constitution, if you are an American, you probably last read it when you were in middle school. So we, a lot of us, Hasris, you are amazing. Thank you for the gift subscription to Mina. I love your face. You are amazing, seriously. As I was saying, the Constitution is something that we as Americans take for granted. We don't pay a lot of attention to it. It has a lot of significance. Oh, hey, a lot of significance to what the United States stands for. I mean, it's basically the end all be all of laws. It lays out in the actual Constitution the rules and laws for the government, what the government is allowed to do, what the government is not allowed to do, and how the American government system is supposed to interact with the people of the United States. Sorry. It basically sets up the guidelines for the three different branches of the United States government. I have coffee here, and it's just because I'm going to be talking a lot. I'm probably going to go through like 6 cups, and I probably should fill it with water instead of coffee. It sets up the 3 branches. It sets up. I should probably have water. I'll go grab water here in a bit when I go on my first break. It sets up the government. It sets up how we all are supposed to interact with the federal government, between the 3 branches, between the legislative branch, the judicial branch, and the executive branch, and how those 3 branches interact with each other. And so I'm not going to go into all of the details of it, like who can create taxes and stuff like that, but the legislative branch, the Congress, can make laws, the president approves laws, and the judicial branch basically says whether those laws are constitutional or not. That's explaining it like you're 5 kind of thing. But the part I really wanted to talk about was the Bill of Rights, which gives rights to the American people on what the government can do to us and what the government can't do to us. So, with the Bill of Rights, the very first amendment, Amendment number 1, is probably the most important in the entire piece of the entire work. If you don't know what it is, it's the right to free speech, the right of the press to operate without government intervention, the right of the people to practice a religion that they want to, and the right of people to come together to protest and talk about, and protest the government or other institutions. For me personally, it's been something that I've always felt very protective over. Growing up here, I grew up in Texas for most of it. Yeah, it has been hazardous, but at the same point, it hasn't been. It's one of those things. Me being I'm a veteran. I'm the son of a career military man. My family has been in the military for generations upon generations upon generations. So, and the very first oath that you take as a military member is to defend the Constitution. And to me, the right of free speech is available to everybody, except in in very small cases, and that those small cases are when they incite violence upon other people or upon property. And even this is the hardest thing to explain. Even if somebody was to use words that I didn't agree with to describe me or describe somebody in my family or describe one of my friends, I don't feel I have the right to silence them. And I hate to say that. Yes. I agree with that to a certain extent. I'm guessing that you're talking about on the stance of something like Twitter or Facebook. I have a hard time saying that Twitter has a right to silence people because of their status. And this is my only thing. Because Twitter is currently it's considered a public forum to most, where an exchange of ideas between people from all over the world can happen, and they assume no liability for for what is stated on their platform. I have a hard time defending them censoring people. And that's the only, if they want to take liability for what is said on their platform, then I have no problem with them censoring people. Twitter is one of those things. Twitter and Facebook are one of those places that the law has not caught up with technology. Just like here on streaming platforms, Mixer, Twitch, YouTube. My only issue with it is because they don't claim liability for what's said on there, and because it is the main staple of communication between currently the main staple of communication between the people in our government and the people that in their voting constituents. They're between those two groups. It's a very difficult thing for me to say that they are right. Now, if somebody was saying, and a lot of it also has to do with that the balance of their censorship is very one-sided currently, because I've seen some people that have said things that, yeah, they probably shouldn't have said it. They probably shouldn't have said it. But then the response to that is, I'm going to come over and shoot you in the face. And that comment is not removed from Twitter at all. So for me, I think if you're going to have, and this is one of the things that I've always enjoyed about Mixer, was that I've always felt like their enforcement of their rules that they have for the platform, their TOS has always been very even, and that they don't have a there doesn't feel like a disparity between these people are kind of held to a different level of what they can get away with compared to everybody else. And I've always felt like, especially recently on Twitter, on Facebook, on Twitch, and definitely on YouTube, that their level of enforcement are very slanted one way and not the other. And in fact, Google just came out recently and stated that they're making even harder tilt on what they deem to be not worthy of being put into their algorithms. And that just happened today. So my opinion has always been that you have every right to say what you want. You have every right to be an idiot. You have every right to be a moron. I also have the right to call you out on your idiocy, and I also have the right to call, say that what you said is wrong. But I can't force you to not say that ever again. Like because I'm a nonviolent person. I don't agree with violence. I don't agree with using violence to reinforce your ideas unless it's a very it's a life or death situation. If the government all of a sudden came to me and said, you're not allowed to publish anything, you're not allowed to say your mind on the internet, you're not allowed to record videos anymore and disseminate this, your opinions and your beliefs to others, I would first take to the streets and protest to it. But if they were threatening my life or the lives of people that I hold dear to myself, I would have no problem defending them with physical force. But that is a last case kind of scenario. That's a very break in case of fire kind of thing. But when it comes to people saying what they want to say on Twitter, what they want to say on Facebook, I will always say, look, I don't agree with you, and I think that you're completely wrong, and I think you're an idiot, and I think that you are just a hateful person, but I'm not going to try to take away your right to say that stupid stuff. I will tell you, if you threaten violence on somebody else, if you say that you're going to go and punch somebody because of their political, religious beliefs or the way they look, that I will gladly stand in front of that person and take that punch. Because I think that violence is wrong. I think that and believe me, I used to be a very violent person. I used to get in fights all the time. I know what it's like to be in a fight. I know what it's like to lose a fight. I just don't feel like that it's the right thing anymore. I don't see it as that's the appropriate response to being called a name. And I've been called all sorts of names. Believe me. I got called a Turkish person while I was in Germany one time, which I always thought funny. Because I don't feel like I look Turkish. I got asked if I was Samoan one time, and I was just like, no, my mom's Mexican, my dad's a freaking white guy from Austin, Texas, so. But I mean, that's what I want this to be, Hazardous. I want this to be an exchange of ideas. I understand where you're coming from. I actually, before, if you would have asked me the same, or if you would have told me the same thing about, yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I've always came to the conclusion to here on Mixer, is that when people come in and they drop the N-word, or call me a gay packy, like, I don't have to sit here and take it, and I don't think that you should say it. And Mixer's TOS says clearly that those kind of terms are not allowed. And they have every right to be, though. And they are also, they don't take liability for what's said by the users, but they do kind of take responsibility for the streams themselves. Like if I was to go off the wall and start spewing racial slurs and, you know, homophobic slurs and all that stuff, I'd lose my channel. B, I'd lose my partnership in a freaking heartbeat. And they'd have every right to do it. This is their platform. I'm just using it to entertain. And I agree. I don't have to sit here and listen to other people. You know, I don't have to sit here and listen to hateful, vile stuff from somebody else. And I don't feel like I should have to listen to that stuff. But there's a great feature on Facebook and on Twitter that you can just mute people or block them. And there are very few people that I have blocked on Twitter. Hold on. I actually have my Twitter pulled up so I can show y'all. Let me pull this up. Where is my profile? Not that. All right, here, I'm going to show y'all my my actual blocked list. So this is the people I have blocked on Twitter. I think a total of, what, maybe 20? And most of them are because they're spam sites. Like, this is not the real TMZ website. This is not the real TMZ... like I said, most of them are spam accounts that just completely spammed my freaking my Twitter feed with phishing accounts and stuff like that, so I blocked them so I just wouldn't see them again. And plus, I don't follow TMZ. right, ducks. There are hot single ladies that just wanted to call me up and take me out on dates, and they're all rich. Some of these people are I have blocked due to personal attacks on myself. Damn it. I have to take ad block off. So some of the people I have blocked because they've made actual threats to myself. So I've kind of blocked them off so I wouldn't have to deal with them. And that was before this channel. That was before PieRatKing became my Twitter handle. It was from back in my Joe Eats Tacos days. So that's where those people are from, and I just haven't unblocked them, and I probably will, because I go through that and I unblock people. I unban people on Mixer a lot, just because I'm like, okay, you know what? They'll probably never be back. I'll just unban everybody again. I don't care for people who threaten my life or my family's life or people I love's life, so those people will always stay blocked. And I don't care if you call me racist names. Call me a racist name. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I've been called a lot worse, like I said. Should hear the things that my ex-wife used to call me. No, I'm just kidding. She's a freaking pretty awesome person. I give her a lot of hell, and she does me too. So one of the things, like you were bringing up, Hazardous, one of the things I've been noticing a lot, especially on Twitter, which Twitter can be a vile place, is that people are trying to use the stance that people are inciting violence on them just for criticizing them. Yeah, Waddlebeard is Ducky. He changed his name, but I can't stop calling him Ducky. Because it says it sounds weird to call him Waddlebeard. Yeah. One of the things I have been noticing a lot, especially recently on Twitter and on what Hasserus, you are a freaking lovely person. I just want to tell you that you are amazing. I don't know why the mod formerly known as Lord Duckley, Hasserus. Thank you so much. You're like, seriously, guys. All y'all's support, y'all's views, y'all's sparks, y'all's subscriptions mean a ton to me. And I can't thank y'all enough. And as subscribers to my channel, while you watch me, you get 250 sparks per minute, which is a lot more than what you'd get if you weren't subscribed. Hashtag ad, right? Right, that's what I'm supposed to say. So what I've been noticing on Twitter a lot lately is people that are trying to use the thank you for the sparks, the inciting violence from just normal conversations that people have to attack their First Amendment rights. And I can understand why Twitter feels like they need to police what they consider hate speech. I understand it because it would be a bad look for them, and they get a lot of criticism already for being a platform for right-wing extremists and for neo-Nazis and all that. Like, they already get enough heat for that. So if they loosen up on their guidelines, they would just get even more heat for it. And I understand the criticisms for it, but at the same time, I can't tell anybody, look, you're not allowed to say that. Like, you're not allowed to say it. It's stupid, and you're just showing yourself to be an ignorant asshole. But you have a right to be an ignorant asshole because the freaking Constitution says so. And as much as I disagree with people of that ilk, what, Ducks? What are you wowing? You're wowing that I feel like people have the right to be ignorant assholes. Everybody has the right to be an ignorant asshole. I'm not going to. It's being nice. I'm being nice because someone made me. I mean, yeah. But at the same time, like, I don't feel like it's hard to explain. And I'll give you an example. I tend to lean more libertarian. I tend to lean to the belief that everybody has a right to do whatever the hell they want, as long as it's not hurting someone else, and as long as it's not hurting me. And I'm not talking about feelings, because hurt feelings are going to happen no matter what. I'm talking about physically hurting someone else, whether it's through taking jobs or taking money out of their pocket kind of thing, to actual physical violence. So I've just came to the conclusion that I feel like that's the best way to live our lives. I feel like not trying to impose our own personal beliefs on other people is the best way for us to all get along. And my only stipulation, as long as it's not harming other individuals. And so you can't translate it? Here, Mina. Type it in French, and I will use Google Translate to translate it for everybody. Yeah, we can just... I see no... I mean, the syntax will probably get lost, but the context and meaning behind it won't. So I hope. Google Translate, you're not gonna fail me like you did, when I was trying to pick up those girls from Italy, right? I mean, So I've always I've always felt like I mean, when you're trying to converse with somebody that you don't speak their language, it's good on the fly, ducky. It's good on the fly, right? Um, so this evolution of that stance of not wanting to impose my personal beliefs on other people and not wanting everybody just to live their lives without harming other people kind of evolved while I was in college. About it. Oh, I know, Hasris. You forget I've seen you in person. So, but yeah, probably shouldn't whip it out on the first date unless they ask you to. Unless they ask you to. But here, I have a perfect example. While we wait for Mina to type it out in Francais, hold on, let me pull up this tweet real fast. And I'm going to be completely... Alright, here we go. Google Translate. And we'll copy and paste. I mean, I don't think Google Translate got the last sentence right, but I got you. I got you. And I agree. I call you Wobaduck. I will confess. Personally, I voted for Dan Crenshaw from Texas. But I don't want anybody to think that that's why I'm using this exact example. I found this to be a perfect example of what I was talking about. Let me pull it up real fast. So I don't know if y'all are as into the whole news of what's going on right now. Ilhan Omar went in front of CARE. She's a representative from Ohio, I think. Went in front of CARE, which is a Muslim group here in the United States, and said, when she was talking about 9/11, and said some people did something. Oh, Minnesota. Yeah, she's from Minnesota. That's where she's from. She said some people did something talking about 9/11, and it was, I won't say it was taken out of context, but it was blown up by a lot of people on the right side. And so Dan Crenshaw tweeted this out after a video of her said it, and said, the first member of Congress to ever describe terrorists who killed thousands 9/11 as some people who did something unbelievable. Instead of trying to convey what she really meant, because I don't think she meant to do a disservice to anybody who was killed on 9/11, and I don't think she meant to lessen who those people were. Her original quote was literally, let me see if I can find the video. Let me see if I can find the actual video.
Freshman Democratic Congresswoman Representative Ilhan Omar.
Let's talk a little bit about Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Congresswoman
founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all
Okay.
of us were
Hold on. I'll put it louder.
because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties.
His state.
So, the way I took it was that she was talking about how these terrorists did something, committed a horrendous act, and then it started they used that act to attack the civil liberties of the people, of Americans. And so she wasn't wrong. Yes. Oh, I can't stand the Patriot Act. I hate it. I've been since it came out, I've been adamant against it, and I've thought that it's a horrible, horrible piece of legislation that needs to go the fuck away. She was talking about that, about how 9/11 and the terrorist attacks have allowed people to use it to take away the civil liberties. Yeah, Hasserus. To take away the civil liberties of, especially focusing more on the Muslim people of the United States, but in general, they attacked all of our civil liberties. But it was the way she said it. Some people did something, and it was kind of blown up. So, out comes Dan Crenshaw. Yeah, exactly, I see. Out comes Dan Crenshaw, and he tweets this. He says, first member of Congress to ever describe terrorists who killed thousands of Americans on 9/11 as some people who did something. Unbelievable. That's all he said. He's not wrong. Does it kind of misconstrue a little bit of what she meant? Oh, yeah. But her response is what bothers me the most. Her response is, this is a dangerous incitement. Given the death threats I face, I hope leaders of both parties will join me in condemning it. I have a hard time saying what Dan Crenshaw said was incitement. Thank you, Hasserus. Again, you are freaking amazing, dude. You are amazing. I love your face. And, oh my god, you guys are awesome. I don't see this as incitement. I don't see this as him saying we need to go and attack her for it. Yeah, true. Hasserus, you're freaking awesome, dude. But this was her response. Her response was what he said was incitement, and it's not. And I think that this kind of attack, these personal attacks by people in politics, by people in the media, are just they're bothersome and they're worrisome. The group hug. Hold on. Let me do it for you. I'll do it for you. I'll give you all a free hug. Let me find my bot. No, I agree.
But I just can't get no relief, Lord. Somebody, can anybody find me?
Why? Oh, why is mixed up not working properly? Interesting. But yeah, then she's showing also this one. You have to wonder if she's an American first. Which, it's Fox News. It really is. Like, I don't watch just one news source. In fact, well, Bobby. But those are the two tweets that she quoted. And no, it wasn't Bobby. He was quoting. Sorry, he was quoting Bill Killamede, who's a Fox News anchor. Fox. The one thing about Fox News is that you always know where they're coming from. You always know that they're going to have a right side opinion on everything. And I can't say that I'm surprised when Fox News kind of pushes the boundary of, oh, you have to wonder. I mean, it's the same people that were saying that Obama was a Kenyan first. But they don't claim to be news. They're this show right here is a complete opinion show, and they let you know that Fox and Friends is a complete opinion show. They talk about the news in an opinion side of it. I mean, she had to become a representative. So, but what bothers me the most is that this is kind of this whole statement right here is kind of bothersome to me, because she's basically saying that both these people, which they didn't, are telling people to go and commit violence upon her. And look, people that are giving her death threats are just as bad. Like, they're horrible people, and they need to stop, and they should probably be investigated by Homeland Security and the FBI. Death threats are no joke. And I don't find them to be proper or the right way to go about things. And I think people that give death threats should be prosecuted under the fullest extent of the law. So and that just, when I saw that, I was like, he's not threatening you, and he's not telling other people to go do things, but you're saying that he is, and that's kind of misleading. I am glad that she did post the actual tweets so people can make their own judgment based on what was said. But when you're looking at a Twitter feed, like, hold on, I'll pull up my Twitter feed real fast again. I know y'all do it too. When you're looking at Twitter feeds, you'll look at a picture, but you'll glance over what's actually said. You know, I mean, there's a reason why all these companies like Fansided and Fortnite, they put images, because the images are going to catch your eye, but you're not going to actually look at the image first. You're going to look at what's said and then look at the image to see what it is. The image is there just to stop you, kind of thing. And it's one of the things that you learn early on when you're doing something like streaming or content creation, is that when you tweet, to make sure that you put an image, because what it does is it stops you. Like, this is my friend Claire showing off all her Astros freaking trading cards she got. That stopped me, because I was like, oh, look at all those Astro cards. And then I got to go to read it, you know. And it's smart, and it's the way of marketing now, is doing that. And especially on Twitter, that's how you handle Twitter. You post a picture to make people stop, to break the thread of tweet after tweet after tweet, so that way people pay more attention to what you actually say. So I'm glad that she actually used the real tweets that were used or were said, and then made her statement. But I think that her statement's completely wrong, and I think that it's dangerous to say that a critique of somebody is incitement of violence, and I think that it's bothersome. Yeah, most people are, though. Icy, most people are text too long to read. I mean, that's why the name of my podcast is PieRatKing's Too Long to Read, because it gives people a chance to hear what I'm actually talking about in my articles or something like that. So, and that's another reason why I wanted to do this, because it gives us a chance to, you know, I'll do a lot of the reading, and we can talk about stuff, and, you know, I'll go through and I'll bring stuff up, but it gives a chance for us to have an actual conversation, and you know, people aren't bogged down on a bunch of information trying to find a bunch of information. And I will gladly look up anything that y'all want to look up. And then in the future, I want to do more of that. I want to be like, look, you know, is there something that's bothering you this week that you want to talk about? And we can, like, you know, delve into it more. As I'm watching my Twitter feed continue to scroll down, because people are tweeting constantly. But I'm going to take a really quick break here, guys. I'm going to go put water in my coffee mug, so I am not just drinking coffee. And I'm going to go use the restroom, and then I'm going to kind of pivot to another First Amendment thing that I feel like happened recently, that I feel very scared about the future of doing this show, but kind of why I feel like I want to do this show. So, I'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere. Enjoy the musica, and y'all will know these tunes.
Inside the book that I wrote are all the words that we spoke, yet only with our eyes. Now is the time to choose. Somebody wins and some lose. I can see through your disguise. Face down, hope for something better. Looking at the clouds, the cyber and the weather. You can't keep this up. The lies are just too much. Kick back, start another fire. Looking at the clouds, making shapes that you admire. And you can't stop it now, 'cause you don't know how.
Okay, all right, we're back, guys. So thank you. We're gonna continue with this conversation probably for another 50 minutes to an hour, and I'm enjoying the conversations we're having and the stuff we're talking about. So I'm definitely looking forward to next week, where I have to figure out what I want to talk about next week, because might just continue on with the next amendment after that. Oh, that one's a scary topic to touch upon, because I think more people are vocal about that one than the First Amendment. So last week, I was just scrolling through some of the individuals that I follow on Twitter and then follow on YouTube, and I noticed something happened, not to somebody that I follow, but to somebody that they are cordial with. I'm not going to say that they're friends, but they're cordial with. There's a YouTuber named Avi Yemeni. He's an Australian. He's a former Israeli Defense Force soldier who he lives in Australia now, and he makes YouTube videos. They're sort of right leaning. I haven't really delved too much into his content, mostly because he talks a lot about what's going on in Australia, and it's not as prevalent to things that are going on here in the States to me, because I'm in the United States. I'm an American. But him and Sydney Watson, who's another YouTuber, and she's also mostly she's mostly, I'm not gonna say she's right wing. She's a lot of her videos are a little bit more on feminist and her opinions on feminism and the like of that. But they were coming to the States to do interviews with some other really prominent YouTubers. No, it's okay, Mina. You have a wonderful night. Thank you for stopping by. I love your face.
I vow to suck your blood.
So they were coming to the States to do some interviews with Dave Rubin, who's he's a pretty large YouTuber. Well, quite a few months ago, Avi did a sit-down interview with Jim Jeffries, who hosts a show on Comedy Central, and they do a lot of they do interviews, and then they kind of like splice up stuff and change what was said as an answer. And they consistently have done this on that show, but apparently when Avi was going on the show, he was very adamant about like them not. He agreed to do it only if they didn't splice up his responses to the interview questions. So when Avi went to I guess they met in Singapore and they did this interview. Avi recorded the entire thing on his own phones to record the actual interview and how it went. That way, that if they did splice it up, he would be like, "Look, this is what I actually said to those questions. This is what my actual answers are," kind of to counteract anything that might go wrong with that. Well, I guess last week they were coming to the States to talk to Dave Rubin, to sit down with Dave Rubin, and they were going to go to Comedy Central and ask Comedy Central and Jim Jeffries and his producers why, and interview them on why that they went back on the agreement and why they cut it up. They made Avi look horrible. I'm not going to lie. I watched that video. I watched the Jim Jeffries interview and how they made him out to be. And I don't, from what I've seen of Avi, I don't believe he's as extreme as they portrayed him on Comedy Central. Well, he's been very outspoken about this, about how he feels like that Comedy Central personally like tarnished his image, and they did it at a time like they recorded the interview months ago, like 4 or 5 months ago, and then they released it on Comedy Central very quickly, or very very soon after New Zealand happened. The New Zealand mosque shooting happened. So it made him even look worse. And I think that, well, he was not happy with it. And I don't think anybody would be really happy with that kind of situation. And he became very outspoken and was going and attacking Comedy Central on Twitter, not like physically attacking, not threatening violence, but just, saying that, they need to admit that they spliced up his interview to make him look worse and to smear him and stuff like that. So they were coming to the States, and on their trip to the States, they were stopped in LAX by customs, by U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. Sydney Watson is a American and Australian citizen, and she used her American passport to come into the States. And so after a long sit down and interrogation by both Customs and the FBI, she was released. But Avi ended up being deported back to Australia. And according to him, the FBI had stated that the Comedy Central was the ones who told the FBI that he was coming to the States to make physical violence on Comedy Central, and that they were fearful of his trip to the States. Thank you so much for the Sparks Ducks. So essentially, Comedy Central swatted a YouTuber. Not in the same sense that most streamers fear for, where, SWAT shows up to our doors and busts in and points guns at our heads. But they called the cops on this guy because he's been outspoken about the way that they portrayed him on their show. Like, this is a multi-million-dollar business afraid of one individual. And I just, to me, I feel like this is the course of action for people, for a lot of people. It's not just the left, it's the left, the right, everybody is going to start weaponizing dissent and weaponizing the way that, or the any kind of criticism or difference of opinion, and I fear for it. I fear that, because I don't have the same stance on certain issues that a lot of the more vocal people have, that I will start to be, and people like me will start to be targeted because of our beliefs. And I'm not trying to say I'm a victim, because I can handle my own, and I would go through the process of being interrogated. I would hate every moment of it, because if you've ever been interrogated, it's the freaking worst feeling in the world. Because the being on both sides of it, being military police while I was in the Army, and being questioned over an incident that happened while I was living in Arizona. It wasn't me in the incident. I was just happened to be involved with the people that were the suspects. That it's the most, it's pretty freaking dehumanizing to be sitting there and being grilled and not knowing, am I going to get out, or how long is this going to take? I got other things to do, that kind of thing. It's not fun. And there's specific tactics that are used to kind of trip you up. And whether it's an actual investigation in you into a suspected crime or into other to you as a witness kind of thing, that you feel like you're constantly being attacked when you're being interrogated by the police, even if you've not done anything wrong. And I think that's what some people who've never been in that situation on either side of it understand, that when and it's no fault to the investigators, because they're just trying to do their job to the best of their ability, and the best of their ability is they come into contact with people that have committed crimes, and those people are a little bit harder to break than your normal individual. But to see that Comedy Central did this to somebody, and because he was an American citizen, he wasn't provided the same luxuries as Sidney Watson. He was sent home, and he was sent home for a legitimate reason. He's came out and said, "Look, I was sent home because on a application that I did 2 years ago, I answered incorrectly, but he felt like this incident kind of made them look further into it and realized that he answered incorrectly on it. So he apparently went back to Australia and has filled out the forms to rectify his mistake in the past." It was funny listening to him say it, because he was just like, "Look, I have nothing against those people. They were just doing their job." So to me, I don't know. I feel like the freedom of speech is consistently under attack, because we allow certain excuses of violations of the First Amendment, because we feel like we would never be in that situation. We would never be the person that's being targeted. We would never be the person throwing out the racial slurs, because most of us won't. Most of us aren't vile human beings. Most of us aren't, threatening to murder people and stuff like that. I mean, that's because the majority of people are good people. I hate to say it. The majority of us are good people because of the way we were raised. We were raised like this. There's certain things you just don't do. There's certain things you don't say. But my biggest issue with it is, where do you start drawing the line of what can and can't be said? Okay, so you're going to say hate speech, but what is hate speech? Like, yeah, we can say, look, racist terms, homophobic terms, ableist terms, those kind of terms are derogatory, and they're hurtful, and they're meant to incite pain into the person that they're directed towards. But is that where we're going to start drawing the line, or are we going to slowly move the line further and further the other way and say, okay, now look at in the United Kingdom right now, if you accidentally misgender somebody, you can be thrown in jail. You can be prosecuted. And to me, like, being an American, I'm glad we have the First Amendment, because that will hopefully stand up to a case of, look, it was an accident. I accidentally said that this trans person was a he when they are a she. And I that doesn't qualify and doesn't necessitate being thrown in jail or being fined because of it. And another thing is, like, being a veteran, most of us veterans have a very fairly dark sense of humor. I know other people have dark senses of humor, but veterans in general have a dark sense of humor because of the situation that we were in, and because it helped us deal with the the fear and the pain that some of us lived with on a consistent basis. And it was kind of cathartic to, and it still is cathartic. Cathartic, is that the word? Cathartic, I think is the word I'm looking for. Yeah, cathartic is the word I'm looking for. To use this sense of humor to help deal with our own personal mental state at the time. And I try. I don't use a lot of my dark humor with people that I know aren't okay with it, or with people that I don't know if they're okay with it, because it's not something like, I don't want to be seen as, oh, that dude just made a horrible joke, he is a horrible person. But I know with most veterans I can get away with using dark humor because they will just laugh at it, because it's something that we've all done, and it's something we've all used to cope with situations we've been in. But like, what's to keep? But I don't have a problem with other people using dark humor either. So like, when I see some horrible dark humor on the internet, I'm just, either it makes me laugh, or I'm like, man, that's effed up. That right there is fucked up, and but you know, to each their own. You know, it's really, it's a touchy subject to say how far is too far, and where are we going to stop drawing the line at? Like, are we going to enforce where everybody has to be extremely nice to each other at all times, or as I like to call it, being Canadian at all times? Sorry, that was a Canada joke, because you Canadian people are lovely people, and I swear to God, y'all are nicer than most of us Southerners. A low blow. So, like, where do we draw the line on that? Like, where is too much is too, where is that too much line? Like, and I don't think that establishing that line at just one certain place is going to stop the progression of it moving on further and further and further. Me personally, I think everybody should be nice to each other. I think we should all be kind to each other. And I think that we should all have some level of respect for another person, because we don't know where that person comes from. We don't know how that person has lived their life, or what has gone on in their life, until we get to know each other. And then you can kind of, push the boundaries a little bit. Right, Ducky? So, like, me personally, I think we should all treat each other with respect, but I don't want to support a law where we always have to be nice to each other, because sometimes being nice to each other is detrimental to building relationships with others. Yeah, sure. Just like I never push TOS. There's that fine line, like, you gotta, but that's what makes comedy too. And then that's another thing is, I feel like the one place that it's going to start hurting the most is in our comedy and what we find funny. I think somebody like George Carlin or Richard Pryor, who are two of the best comedians to ever grace this world, would have a very hard time in our current environment, because Carlin loved to push he loved to push that line. He loved to go and try to push past boundaries and see how far he could take it. Same thing with Richard Pryor. Both of them tried to push past our boundaries as what we find acceptable, to find humor in the shortcomings of mankind. And I think that those two individuals especially would have a very hard time to excel in their in comedy today. I think that's also why we don't have as many comedians that are as prevalent as they were in the past. I mean, there's always going to be the Dave Chappelles. There's always going to be those kind of people out there to kind of who kind of try to push the boundaries a bit. But as I mean, we see comedians right now getting attacked for sketches they did, and bits that they've done, and stuff they've said in a joking manner from 10 years ago. And I feel like you're starting to take the fun out of comedy if you start doing that. If you start enforcing what you believe to be the social lines of what is acceptable and what's not acceptable, and where you want to make that rule, and where, okay, this is too far, so now you should be punished for it. I think that it's counterproductive to actually having discussions about things. I know there was a kid recently who was videotaped talking about he was talking about the differences in words and what words he's not allowed to say because of who he is, and it was blown out of proportion, or it was taken out of context. I won't say it was blown out of proportion, because he said the term, and it's not an acceptable term, and I would never use it here, mostly because I don't want to break TOS, but partially because I don't like the term. But they took a small clip of it and they posted it everywhere, and he started getting threats from people, because he used the term, but he was just explaining the history of that term and wasn't directing it at anybody. And I think when we start to forbid certain terms, and we start to forbid, by law, those terms, then we start to lose the ability to discuss them and explain why they are inappropriate, or why they are detrimental to our society. And it's been one of those things that I've been looking at recently, and it's especially been coming up a lot more and more and more, of where I feel like our words are slowly being taken away from us. And I mean, y'all might not agree with me, and that's okay. I mean, that's completely fine, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay that not everybody's going to agree with it. There's only one thing that I have a hard stance on, and that is Texas barbecue is still the best in the world. And I don't care what any New Yorker tries to tell me, New York City barbecue is not real and nowhere close to Texas barbecue. I'm sorry, that was from a tweet earlier this week that I saw, that some guy said that New York City barbecue was the best, then DC barbecue, and then Memphis barbecue, and then Texas barbecue. And to me, like, I'm sorry, that's not acceptable. And you should probably be put in jail for saying something like that. Thanks, Ducks. Hey, I didn't call him out, and I didn't call him a moron. I just said he should be put in jail for saying something like that. Okay, I did say he was a moron. But I'm glad we've been able to just sit here, and y'all have been listening to me ramble on and talk like this. It bodes well for what I see the future of PieRat TV on Friday nights, and like I'm hoping it grows. I'm hoping we get more people in here that want to have discussions like this and want to talk more about this kind of things, because I don't think that there is a place. I don't think there's a place on Mixer for sure. Let alone I haven't seen anything on Twitch. I know there's a lot of videos on YouTube that kind of allow it, but there's not that personal interaction. There's not that you get to talk with me directly, and I'm here to talk with you guys about this kind of stuff. There's not that live interaction. I haven't seen much of that, other than, you know, tweeting at each other or discussing in chat rooms and stuff like that. Are chat rooms a thing anymore? I mean, other than, you know, like streaming chat rooms. Those, I understand those are a thing. But, like, I remember the day of AOL chat, man. Yahoo chats. Yeah. Who remembers Yahoo chats? One second. I'm trying to see if I can fix the white balance on here. Yeah, Hassers. Do you know? Do you know if those are still a thing? Probably not. Yeah, we have Discord. I think Discord's the closest thing, but it's not like, you know, you don't log in and have live conversations. You just have conversations over time whenever you see them. And if you've seen my Discord, ASL, yeah, it's still not quite the same. I mean, streaming is about the closest thing to those old chat rooms that I think they are. Ooh, 49. Wow. And on the moon? I'll be there next month. That scares me, guys. That scares me that we are getting closer and closer to colonizing other celestial beings. Celestial beings. Beings, not beans. Celestial, I can't think of the term for it now. I'm having issues. Beans. Celestial Beans is a good username. Yes. Let's start that. Let's find a platform to use Celestial Beans. Let's go to Uplay and change our beans. But now I want to know. I want to know what y'all's takes are on First Amendment stuff. Kind of figure out where Hassers is standing, and I understand Hassers. I understand what you're saying. What? Oh, no! It's because if you take out us, that's a derogatory term. See, and this is another thing. Like, I don't have a problem with that term. I don't. Call me a beaner. What was it? A beaner schnitzel. Truly am. I said it. There you go. Allie. That was for you. I'm part Mexican and part German. A little bit of Cajun. No, that meme was probably the best meme. I died laughing, and I sent it to all my brothers and sisters, and we had a good time with that meme. It was funny. But like something like that, like if I saw that on Twitter, I would, or if I saw that on Reddit, or saw that in a Discord, I would just, that's hilarious. That's funny. I like that. The problem with it is that there's some places that get you banned for that. Well, I mean, it is all about context. But if somebody was to come up to me and tell me, I mean, I've been called a beaner before. Let's be honest. I've been called all sorts. It's Beans talking about that. What's up, Beans? It doesn't hurt my feelings. Beans are delicious, especially refried in some manteca. You know, old school style. Let's go. And some borrachos. Oh man, now I'm hungry. I had fish tacos for dinner. Okay, I saw what you said, Hassarus. I don't Catbot is being very picky tonight. You're so desensitized to the N-word, you don't care as in terms of friends or whatever. I mean, hey, Catbot's doing his job though. Catbot's doing his job. I have it on low settings because I want, this is an 18 plus stream, and I will always be an 18 plus stream. Yeah. So, but, you know, and Hassers, I understand that. Like, and, dude, like, you can't, for me personally, I don't feel like there's a personal attack in it. Like, it just shows somebody's, if it's somebody I don't know, it shows their ignorance of who I am, and that they're unwilling to get to know me for who I am. you know. Yeah, no, the meaning of the word is still bad, and I would never say that it's okay for everybody to use. I'm just saying, like, to me personally, when somebody uses those kind of terms to describe me, it's like, okay, so you're unwilling to get to know me. You're unwilling to have a conversation with me because of the way I look. All right? It's kind of like, you know, these years of streaming and being called fat. Am I? Really? I didn't freaking notice. I didn't look at myself in the mirror. I shower with the lights off. You know, like, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I know I am. It is, but it's not. Like, pretty much yeah. Like, it just shows me that I don't want to have a conversation with you. Like, I don't want to get to know you, because that's the first thing that you latch onto is how I look, not how I talk, not how I present myself. I mean, okay, how I present myself. I'm a t-shirt and blue jeans kind of person. I'm a t-shirt and shorts kind of person. And I think a lot of that just, you know, I fall into the big guy stereotype of always wearing shorts and wearing t-shirts. I like them chunky. Ooh, beans. But it's like, you know, if your first comment to me is something based on my physical appearance, then you're just showing your ignorance. And I feel like that's for all people. If the first thing you notice about somebody else is that the way they look, but I guess that's just the way I grew up. I guess that's the way that I like Martin Luther King. In his I Have a Dream speech, you know, he wanted his children to be judged by their character and not the characterizations of them. You know, and that was something my dad always said to me, was, you know, it's better to be a person of good character, you know, and have people, and you should always judge people based off their character and not the way that they look. Even the word doesn't apply to you, original meaning. I mean, yeah, and I understand that. I understand that the original meaning of the word is still latched to it, and it's a horrible term, and it's why I don't use it. I don't care for it. I find that it is a way to try to make yourself feel and look more superior to another person based on the way they look. But if somebody wants to use it, then who am I to say that they should be locked up? Schwartz white Nikes and a Dallas Cowboys. Oh, goodness. Get out of here, Beans. You lost me at the Dallas Cowboys jersey. Yeah. Yeah, and that's how I feel, Hazardous. That's how I feel when people use derogatory terms towards me because of my skin color. Like I said, I was literally called a Turkish piece of crap when I was living in Germany by a German person, and I just looked at the German person and was like, "Dude, I'm American," and then he backed off and walked away, and I was just like, "You just made yourself look even stupider." I'm not going to. It's kind of even okay, for people of Mexican descent, of people whose family comes from Mexico, being called Puerto Rican is a sin, and same thing for Puerto Ricans, calling them Mexican is a sin. It's something that they actually take great offense to. A lot of that has to do with their heritage pride. Because they're proud of their heritage, they're proud of the people that they came from, and being called a different Latino is hurts their pride more than anything else. And I think I don't take offense to it. I'm just like, okay, you've probably only come into contact with Puerto Ricans in your life, so that means you're either from Florida or from New York. And everybody down here, like I have a Puerto Rican friend that lives here in Houston, and he's like, dude, you don't understand how many times I've been called Mexican. I'm like, it's because the 90% of the Latinos that people come in contact with here in Texas are of Mexican descent. So I mean, you can't really like fault people for thinking that you're also Mexican when you have a Spanish last name, you have a Spanish first name, and you know you kind of have that Spanish accent. And I think when you start to take too much offense to what people call you, and you become too sensitive to things like that, I think that you're letting too many people or other people control you more. This is my personal belief. I think that what other people call me is that, like, it has no bearing on my personal value and to my self value. I can do all that kind of self degradation myself, and I don't need any help from other people. What grilled fish? Fish is grilled in Minnesota, right? Vikings and the barbecues here. That's not a barbecue, Mimi. That's grilling out. There's a big difference. Barbecue is an art form. You can barbecue chicken, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, no, I agree, Hazardous. I agree. Like I was asked the other day by somebody. I'm not going to call them out, but I was asked why Hispanics have such a hard time with Indian and Middle Eastern people, and I told them I personally don't. Well, there was a time that I did have a problem with Middle Eastern people, but that was because I went through the tragedy of losing my best friend in Iraq. So that was the basis of my problem with Middle Eastern people. Yeah, I it bothers me, but at the same time, Hazardous, I'm just like, we don't know each other's, culture all that well. Like, I can't tell you, I could tell you the things that I've learned from my black friends over the years. That freaking chitlins are delicious, that collard greens are also delicious, and that there are some black people out there that don't like fried chicken, and I don't understand it because I love fried chicken. But like, these are the cultural things that we think about when we think of other cultures, because unless we grew up in F chitlins. Dude, I love chitlins. But again, I'm Mexican, so I eat everything. And I'm part Cajun, so I definitely eat everything. Dude, I could make you a lengua burrito that you would die for. You just gotta think. You gotta not think that it's beef tongue. But these things that we think about when we haven't interacted with people outside of our own culture a lot, it just tastes like. I mean, that's why you got hot sauce for, brother. That's why you have hot sauce. Lots and lots of hot sauce. We as people, we tend to not immerse ourselves in other cultures as much as we probably should. You shouldn't have. I mean, dude, I eat tripe. All right, so like, I eat heart. I eat liver. I freaking love liver and onions. Steak and kidney. You don't know what tripe is, Mimi? Mimi, Google tripe. Just Google it. Oh, dude, give me some barbacoa. Oh, all day, every day. Yeah, it's stomach lining. You know, but like I was saying, I've had the benefit of being able to travel the world and get to understand a lot of other cultures. I'm not 100% intertwined with every culture that I've come in contact with, but getting to know other cultures made me want to get to know more cultures. And I also have a love for food. I have a love for food. So, and I've always found that food has always been like the easiest way to get a feeling on other people's. Yeah, it's like cow cheek and tongue. It's delicious. So I've always found that like getting other cultures' food is like the easiest way to kind of intertwine with other cultures. But if I hadn't been exposed to all these other different cultures over my life, I think it would be a hard time to it would be hard to kind of, you know, understand other people. That brains is the one thing I have never tried, but I wouldn't be against trying it. Beans, like just legit brains. I have never tried legit brains. I've like if it's mixed in with something else, I'm sure I've eaten it. Dude, Hasris, again, being of Mexican descent, we tend to eat every part of the cow. Oxtail is freaking delicious. Lengua, I love lengua, man. It just takes forever to make. Yep, I've had Rocky Mountain oysters. I've had those. They're not bad. They're kind of like they have the same like texture as liver. So I would say if you don't like liver, then you wouldn't like those. So but I want to thank all of you guys for making what I feel like it was a success tonight. I feel like we had a good time. We had a good conversation. We talked about a lot of stuff, and it makes me more excited about next week. The next Friday we'll be doing another edition of PieRat TV. As I said, I'm going to download this VOD. I'm going to post it on the YouTube. I just have to fix my YouTube channel a little bit more to make it feel better to me. And I love all of you guys. Hassers, thank you for the tremendous amount of support you've shown tonight. You are amazing. All of you other people, I thank you for your tremendous amount of support and your willingness to sit through and listen to me ramble on about my opinion on the First Amendment, especially free speech. I mean, I know we didn't talk about protests and stuff like that. Maybe we will talk about protests later. Religion's easy for me. I don't care what religion you practice as long as you're not using it to harm other people. Wait, never mind, I do. Oh, right? I'm thinking ahead of time. So, like, to me, those things are... To me, religion's the easiest one. As long as your religion doesn't hurt other people, like, physically, I don't have a problem with it. Like, even Westboro Baptist, I cannot stand those people. And I will outright say I cannot stand Westboro Baptist. I think they are a hateful, hateful group. But I can't say that I would be willing to take away their right to exercise their religion. So, if you understand that, then you understand me. But again, I thank all of you guys for your amazing support. I love all of your faces. Let me switch scenes real fast. I swear to God, I screw everything up every time. Anyways, as I was saying, I love all of your faces. I want to thank every single one of you for all, being here, for discussing with me. I want you guys to know that y'all have made this evening entertaining, and made me want to continue doing this. Let's try these end credits. Are they going to work? They're working. Yes. That's it. There we go. New recruits. There we go. Game over. No idea why the subscribers didn't come through. Probably because the API is similar. Thank you, Hasris, for the embers. And I look forward to doing this with you guys. And y'all can hit me up on Discord anytime you want. If y'all want to continue this conversation, I have no problem discussing anything with you guys afterwards. And I will see you guys tomorrow night right here, 8 p.m. for Song Request Saturday on mixer.com/PieRatKing. Because it's going to go on YouTube later. And love every single one of your faces. Good night.